Hi, this is Barb Crowley, and welcome to Metaphysics of Youth at the Veil. Today, we're going to talk to Heather Kokx. Heather is an energy healer, meditation instructor, Enneagram coach, happiness coach, and yoga instructor. Her sessions specialize in helping people feeling stuck in their lives, needing to release negativity, and looking for self development and happiness. She uses a number of different energy modalities, including the Enneagram, which is what we're going to talk about today. That is a personality profiling system where your personality type helps identify the major wound in your life that motivates every action you take. And that's really the one we're going to focus on today, although the rest of her work will come into it, of course. But anyway, Heather, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Barb. I'll talk about the Enneagram all day long, so I'm excited to
Oh,
be
okay,
here.
great. Great. Because I've played with it in the past
Mhm.
and never came away um, satisfied, I guess,
Right.
and nor understanding it. And then I did tell you before we got on that I did take the test quickly,
Mhm.
and it typed me as a number two helper.
Right.
And I don't agree with that because even though I can recognize where somebody needs help, I want somebody else to do it.
Do it. Yes.
I'll only step up if nobody else is stepping up.
Right.
So I
Yes.
don't think that's really a number two. But anyway,
Mhm.
tell me about you and how you got into it and why you got into it.
So, back in 2003, I had just broke off an engagement, and I decided I needed to figure out why I was dating the same man over and over again.
Hmm.
And so I went to a therapist that my friend was seeing, and she did the Enneagram. And um, that's how I really got into it. Now, kind of going back to tests, let me tell you this part. I
Yeah.
had taken the test like a year ago because my friend said, she called me from New York and said, "You have to take this. You have to take this." And I was like, okay. So I went online, I took the test, and I said I came back as a six. And she said,
Hmm.
"I knew it." And then she hung up. So I went online and looked and read
True
about the
friend,
six.
yeah.
Yes. And I thought, okay, yeah, I can see that I'm a six. Sure.
Hmm.
Well, then I went to this therapist and she said, "I think you might be a nine." And I was like, "No, I'm a six." And she's like, "Here, read this piece of paper." And it was about the nine. And I went, "Oh no, I'm a nine."
Yeah.
And so then reading about the nine, it was like, is this person in my head? How do they know how I think? How do they know I behave? And that's when I was hooked. But here's the thing, this is why tests aren't great. So when I took that test, I was living with my fiance and his daughter in his dog, with my dog in my parents' house with their dog. So there was chaos happening.
Hmm.
And my parents are saints. We'll just acknowledge that now. So it was chaos. And
Yeah.
I was stressed to all get out. And I finally realized, as I say in my book, if I continue on like this, I will not be the same person in 2 years.
Hmm.
And God bless him, he said that would be a shame. And that's when we got out of the engagement. After learning about the Enneagram, there's this movement that happens in the Enneagram. And when a nine is under stress, they take on qualities of the six. And
Mm.
that's where I was when I took that test. I was so stressed out
Yeah.
that that's how it appeared. So tests aren't always great. They can give you an idea of where to start looking, but
Hmm.
really just learning kind of about all of them until you kind of figure out, oh God, that's me. And usually when you're like, I hate that I'm that number, that's usually when you know you hit the right one. So
Well, when you hate that number, well,
you hate that
maybe I
number.
am too
Yes,
then, because I
I did a
hated
work
it.
I did a group workshop, and the one person was sitting back with her arms crossed, just pouting. And I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I'm a two, and I don't want to be a two."
Right. That's how I felt. I'm not helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could indulge me for a minute. I have a definition of the Enneagram that I love
Oh,
from a
good.
man named Christopher Hortz. He wrote a book called The Sacred Enneagram, and it just describes it way better than anybody I've ever seen. And it says, one often misunderstands the Enneagram as simply a tool to describe quirks and traits of people's individuality. The Enneagram goes much farther than mere caricatures. The Enneagram illustrates the 9 ways we get lost, because there's 9 personality types, but also the 9 ways we can come home to our true self. Put another way, it exposes the 9 ways we lie to ourselves about who we think we are, the 9 ways to come clean about those illusions, and the 9 ways to find our way back to God.
Mm.
And you can use whatever you want word for God. The Enneagram isn't
Right.
specifically spiritual in any way. Christians have completely embraced it. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a good, there's a little segue here. We don't have a good word, a good neutral word for God.
No,
You
it's
know, we just,
perfect way of putting that. Yes.
yeah, unfortunately. And I've known people who came up with words, but they never stuck.
No,
We
it's
just
not the
don't
same.
have it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So then when she, and you, let me bring this in because I
Mhm.
found this fascinating. To you, there are wounds.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
these are really you have been wounded, and
Mhm.
this is how you reacted to that wound. And that
Yes.
reaction will underlie everything you do in your life.
Exactly. There's many ways, different theories, I should say, on how your number comes about. But the one I like best is that each number has a number that, just like there's a stress number, there's one that you want to be. That if
Mhm.
you were your best self, you would look more like that number. So you come in as that number, and then something happens that really hurts, and you think, and this is around age 2 or 3, somewhere around there, something happens that really hurts, and you think, I never want to feel that way again.
Yeah.
And so you take on this belief system that motivates everything you do. So if you were a 2,
Mhm.
something happened and you thought, I never want to feel that way again, and in order to never feel that way again, I need to make sure that everyone loves me, or worst case scenario, everybody needs me.
Mhm.
And you completely forget yourself and focus on everybody else.
Right.
And
Right.
that's how you think you're going to always stay loved and feel safe.
Mhm.
Because everybody wants to feel loved and feel safe. For
Right.
the 2, it's like, I need to be wanted and loved. That's
Mhm.
the way they're going to feel safe. And so that moves everything in their life. Every decision they make kind of comes from that wound that they never
Right.
want to feel again. Mhm.
And wounds in yourself are, I think, almost impossible to see. It's very hard to see
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
So, let's say if, with 2, I'm saying, no, not me. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And mind you, I'll say, in fact, this past holiday, I had a sister fall, and I was on the East Coast, and I live in Denver. I canceled my
Okay.
trip home. And I wanted to go home. I didn't want to do it. I told everybody, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. I don't want to do it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That, that kind of thing. But so if you have that wound and you're like 2, and my first reaction is that's not me. How do I then know what the real wound is or what my real number
So
is?
what your real number is.
Yeah.
Um, the the best way is to kind of go on the internet and just start reading through kind of all the quick descriptions,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be able to go, no, 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 and like, I know I'm not an 8. An 8 is also known as the boss, and they
Mm-hmm.
aren't. They're the one number on the Enneagram that has no fear of confrontation. In
Right.
fact, sometimes they relish in it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
That is not me. Nope. Mark off the
Yeah.
8, right? And so you'll come out with like 2 or 3 numbers that you're like, yeah, that could be me. And then the best thing to do is to go on the internet, because there's tons of information now, because the Enneagram's really hip now. Reading about those 3 types on YouTube, there's tons of people talking about being that number, and it'll come across, eventually it'll hit you and you're like, oh, that's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard recordings of 9s talking about themselves, and they'll say something and it'll just, I mean,
Before you go on, what's a 9?
okay, fair enough. I'm a 9, and the 9 is the peacemaker.
Mhm.
And their big wound is they avoid confrontation like the plague,
Yeah.
because the idea of being the confrontation in their minds destroys everything.
Mhm.
So if I have a fight with my husband, I always have to remind him, you have to say at the end of this fight, I'm not happy with you, but I still love you and I'm not going anywhere. So that
Okay.
I know that it's
That
okay.
you're
Because otherwise,
safe. Yeah.
yeah, that everything is destroyed. And so because of that, I'm always putting people first, but not like a two. I
Mhm.
am making sure that everybody is okay and happy. I don't necessarily want to go out and help everybody
Right.
because that takes a lot of effort and
It
energy.
takes a ton.
Right. But I'm trying to keep harmony out there and harmony inside of myself and
So a
avoid all
9
confrontation.
is like a middle child.
Yes, it could very be. Yes.
Yeah.
They're often unseen or unheard, and they don't really like that,
Mhm.
but that's safer.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
So
So go
let's
ahead.
talk about some of the other ones,
Sure,
like
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so and the fun thing is they're in triads, because there's 9 numbers, they're in triads, and each one sees the world through a different intelligence is the best
Mhm.
way to put it. But that also helps you kind of decide who you are.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the gut triad, and the gut triad has this instinctiveness in the way they see the world, and they're all about doing.
Mhm.
And that's the 8, which I already described, which is the boss. And their big wound is feeling vulnerable. So something happened to them when they were young, and they thought, I'm never going to let that happen again. And they take control and become
Yeah, I
their
was
own parent.
thinking
Yeah.
8 is a control freak.
Yeah.
8 is the
They,
one that I was talking about as a helper. I'm going to
yeah.
stand back and wait for
Yeah.
8 to
Now,
step up.
8s don't necessarily want to control everybody else. They just don't want to be controlled.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
favorite word is no. Well, I am very aware of this
Mhm.
word. No, the 9 is me,
Mhm.
as I've described. And then the 1 is the perfectionist. They don't like that word. They see their whole world as good or bad. And at some point when they were young, they were wounded and they thought, I'm always going to follow the rules and I'm always going to be a good person.
Okay, so
So
that's a
they,
black and white thinker?
that's a black and white thinker who integrity leads everything in their life. They must always walk in integrity.
Mhm. And what they
And
believe is integrity.
exactly, because I
Yeah.
kind of believe that the Unabomber was a 1.
Mm.
so,
Okay,
so,
yeah.
so there's, and with all of these, there's levels of health, you know?
Mhm.
So that's the 1. So those are all gut, and they really are about doing things.
Right.
And then there's the 2, 3, and 4, and they're all heart based. They relate to the world through their emotions, and
Mhm.
they really care about what other people think about them. Image is something for them. And the 2, as we said, is the helper.
Mhm.
Their big superpower is they can sense what other people need,
Mhm.
and they're the ultimate caretakers. But with great power comes great responsibility, I say. And
Right.
they can overuse this power and step in sometimes when they're not wanted.
Right.
And in the same time, they're forgetting their own emotions, they're forgetting themselves, taking care of everybody else.
Mhm.
And
So
then
they
the
lose themselves. They are
yes,
not the most important in the room. The person who needs help is the most important. So they kind of
exactly.
come out of themselves to go into to become the other person.
Not to become the other person, to take care of the other person.
Mhm.
A 9 will become the other person because if you merge, then there's no conflict, right?
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
But twos, if you piss them off, they have a sharp tongue and they will know exactly how to prick you.
Yeah, okay,
But
yeah.
they're the nurses, they're the Mother Teresas that are there to help, but they will stand up and tell you what's what if they need to.
Yeah.
Um, and then the 3 is the entrepreneur. They're the ones that everybody in America wants to be, right? If you just, you know, pull up your bootstraps and work, you'll be successful. And success is really important to them. At some point, their wound was they didn't believe that anybody would love them for who they were. And so they started performing and
So
being
it's what they
successful.
do,
Yes,
kind of, yeah.
exactly. And they turn off their emotions because emotions just get in the way, right?
Mhm.
Of doing what you need to do to move forward. And they can bend the rules if they need to. They won't follow all the steps if they see a quicker way to get it done. And their big thing is deceit. But everybody thinks they're deceiving everybody else, like a snake oil seller or something, but they're really deceiving themselves.
Mhm.
And they're the ones that have to hit rock bottom and realize that everybody else still loves them, to realize that they love them for them and not for what they do, not for what they achieve. I should say what they achieve. Their
Right.
achievement is
Do
what
they
they
have
are.
to fail to get there, or
Yes. And
they
what's
do?
funny, there's a woman I follow called Suzanne Stabile. She's a two, but she'll say that in a workshop, threes, they have to fail in order to grow.
Mhm.
And they will come up and three will say, I'm a three. How can I do that? Like, what do I need to do to step through that and just move on? Right.
Mhm.
And she's
Where's the
like, it doesn't,
checklist? Where's
yeah,
the
it doesn't work
checklist?
that way. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and then the four is the third of the heart center. And they believe there's something inside of them that's wrong that everybody else has that makes them happy.
Mhm.
And so they're always trying to find their uniqueness, and what makes them special, hoping that that will fulfill it.
Mhm.
They're the like the prince, the singer of the world. They're the weird people that do weird things kind of to
Yeah.
make themselves unique. Um,
Mhm.
but their special gift is they believe that if the world is shiny, you can't trust it. So they're very good at being in the melancholy or sitting with someone in their pain or their grief and just being with them and not trying to fix it or make it better, just like holding that space with them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
their special ability. So those are the heart. And then we'll go through the last
Yeah.
seven. I
What
know
would
the last three.
crash them? Or is
What
that
would
only
crash?
like number three that really
Only number
crashes?
three is really the only one that needs to kind of crash. They all have their special little thing.
Right.
Like the Enneagram one, the perfectionist, they have an inner critic. And we say, well, everybody has an inner critic. No, 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 no. Their inner critic is like the drill sergeant. Then they
Mhm.
can never do anything right. It is always
Oh.
saying, you could have done that better. You shouldn't have done that way. It's just relentless,
Mhm.
relentless.
Right.
Okay, so let's go to 5, 6, and 7, which are the head based, and they're all about thinking and planning. And sometimes the head based and the heart based don't communicate very well.
Mhm.
Because the heart based, they speak a different language sometimes. So the 5 is like Spock. They have to think through their emotions. They think very logically, and their big wound is not being able to be independent. They're the minimalists of the world. They will go as minimal as they can, knowing that they will always be able to take care of themselves, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Right.
And then the 6 is the loyalist, and they are fear based. Something happened to them, and they said, I am always going to be on the watch for danger 24/7,
Right.
and to the
They're
point
like the
where,
lighthouse, always watching, right?
right. And as
Yeah.
they're up there in that lighthouse thinking, well, what if there's a hurricane? What if there's a kraken? What if, like, they're just always doing the what
Right.
ifs so they can prepare. So when the pandemic happened and everybody was like, the 6s were like, I knew it. I knew it, and I'm
Yeah.
ready. And y'all
Yeah.
need to pick up your big boy, pick up your pants, because you need to be courageous now. Like,
Mhm.
I've been feeling
Right.
this forever. So the 6s were ready. And then the 7, the last one, is the enthusiast, again, head based. And they are the Tiggers of the Enneagram. They're the one number on the Enneagram. When somebody finds out they're 7, they're like, I love being a 7. They're so excited about being a 7, because 7s are always looking for new ideas and new invention or adventures. But
Mhm.
it's because they're running away from the negative feelings. They don't
Okay.
want to be
Yeah.
stuck in the negative feelings. So if you've seen the movie Inside Out, that is the great
I
example
don't think I did.
of
Yeah.
it's joy is always running away from the sadness, and finally you realize that you need to be sad sometimes
Mhm.
to heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So they're
that's it.
running for the next shiny thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
the next shiny thing. They're always coming up with wonderful ideas. Some of them come to fruition, some of them don't, but that doesn't matter.
No, because
There's
they always have a new shiny idea to work on.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So 7s loved being friends with me when I was younger because I'm a 9, and they'd say, let's go do this. And I'd say, okay, let's go do this.
They could
Okay.
talk you into anything.
Yeah, I just go along. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as I'm not going to end up in jail, great. Let's go do it.
Yeah. And am I?
Yeah.
And they're not going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, so that's kind of an overview of all the numbers.
Mhm.
And if, as I was talking about the head, heart, and gut, if you think I do not work with my heart at all, then you're probably not a three, two, three, or four, you know,
Mm.
unless you're a three. But
Well,
yeah,
can you be a combo or are you going to only be one of them?
you're going to be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people say, can my number ever change? Like, can I heal and not be that number? And I'm like, no, that wound is always going to be there. But
Do
the
you ever
more,
go back and know what the wound was? Do you need to know it?
oh, like the actual moment that it
Yeah,
happened.
the actual wound
I,
itself.
nobody's ever asked me that. I mean, I can think of moments. Everybody I've talked to, they can think of moments back in their childhood that happened,
Hmm.
but I don't know if that's the exact wound, you know.
Right.
Um, so
Can the wound
maybe
be from past life?
I have never thought of that, and I'm going to say no
Hmm.
because I think you came here to figure this thing out. I mean, I guess if you're dealing with something that happened in a past life, then maybe, but you still have to have that happen this life. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
So if
Yeah.
let's say you have a wound from the past life, you have to come in and kind of
Experience
activate
it
it with the
again.
wound in this life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you get to a point where you keep testing that wound. I had a two, I was so proud of her. I was talking to her the other day, and she said, I realized that my big fear is of being rejected and not being loved, like losing a friend. That's like a dagger in the heart over and over again
Right.
to a two.
Right.
And their head is constantly spinning about relationships. That's what they think about. And she said, and I've realized that that's already happened to me twice in my life, and I'm still here.
Hmm.
I'm still alive. I don't need to be as afraid about that as I think I do.
Right.
And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You're on your way. You're
That's
healing. Yeah.
exactly it. Because it's
Yeah.
always going to hurt, but it'll hurt less and less because you know that you're going to live
Hmm.
afterwards.
And then you start to recognize it.
Yes.
When it's happening or before it happens, you think, "Oh, this is my spot here.
Yep.
This
This
is
is
the
it.
thing that I'll react to."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you observe yourself while it's happening. And you may
Yeah.
change what you do, you may not, but if you're observing while it's happening and you're learning. Yeah, absolutely.
With you, how did you do this? How did so once you decided, "Oh my God, I'm really a 9, I'll accept
Hmm.
it." How did you then start to work with it to heal yourself? Because now your book, and what's the name of your book?
Gateway to healing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's on Amazon and you can get
Yes.
that anywhere,
And if you
right?
have the Amazon, I forget what it's called, like the free reading of books,
Hmm.
certain books in there that
If
you can
you're in
you
their
can
club, yeah.
yes, you can
Yeah.
read it for free.
Oh,
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
You know, for a while I just observed myself, and wow, I really don't like conflict. And for a nine, a conflict is answering the phone.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
who's out on that other end. I don't know what they're going to say to me. I don't know what they're going to ask of me,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
So and in your 20s is when you express this the worst.
Hmm.
Because when you're young, all the rules are very black and white. You do this, you don't do this. And
Right.
this method that you've had to keep safe works really well, you
Hmm.
know? But then you get into your 20s and you go out into the messy world where the rules are very vague, and
Right.
and you really expressing this, trying to, it worked before, and you're banging your head and it's not working like it did
Hmm.
before, so I
Right.
spent a
Well,
lot
the
of my
rules
20s
are
not
black and
answering my
white.
phone. Yeah, the rules aren't
Yeah.
black and white out in the world. And
Yeah.
so I spent a lot of my 20s not answering my phone. I would just let it ring and hear the message and then call them back.
Yeah.
So but eventually I learned that conflict often is boundaries to
Hmm.
protect yourself, and that's good.
Yeah.
It's good to say no sometimes. And the first big one I remember, oh, it was awful. And I was in my 20s, and I was a massage therapist, and I had to fire a client.
Mm.
And I was with my therapist with this. She was like, "You need to fire this person. They make you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and you dread working on them, and that's not healthy." So I called them and told them that it wasn't going to work out anymore. And I hung up and I felt awesome. A lightness just went all over me. And I was like, oh, sometimes
You
conflict is good.
weren't
It's bad.
scared after you
Yeah.
did it that
No,
they
once
were
I
going to
was
call you
done,
back?
no,
Wow.
I was done. I was like, well, and also I don't have to answer the phone. So if the
Yeah. Yeah. You've already tested that out. Yeah.
but I realized that sometimes conflict is important and I need to get over it. And
Hmm.
you know, I'm better than I was. But then I married an 8, and of course they're like the um the masters of conflict, and he's taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
Now,
still
why
there.
would you marry an 8? Why would a non-conflict marry a conflict?
Because one thing that 9s love, regardless of how grumpy that person is a person that what you see is what you get.
Hmm.
And 9 or 8s are truly authentic because they
Okay.
don't care what other people think about them,
Hmm.
you know? So they're just going to be themselves and they're going to tell you like it is. And
But
that's
what now
comforting.
remind me, what is an 8's wound?
The 8's wound is of being vulnerable. That
Oh, okay.
vulnerable is very scary,
Right.
you know? I'll put my hand on my husband's heart and I'll say, come on, open
Mm.
it up. And he'll be like, no. Like he doesn't see the purpose of it.
Yeah.
Why? You know, it's not important. It doesn't do
Yeah.
anything good. And I'm like,
Yeah. I'm certain of this, so we'll just go with this. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But
So
he
he
can
doesn't really want to heal.
no, 8s usually think they have it all figured out. So
Yeah.
do 3s. You rarely see 8s and 3s in a group. You know,
Hmm.
8s read the definition of an 8 and they go, yeah, that's right. And they close the book and they move on.
Mm.
Okay.
So
You know,
life is working for them.
life is working for them.
Hmm.
They're the and also they're the protectors of the underdogs. And
Hmm.
that's kind of where they get their like feely, touchy feely goodness.
Oh,
They're
I see.
really just a marshmallow inside, really. But yeah, they're the protectors of the underdogs. They will go to bat for them because they can't fight for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, they'll have the underdog have the emotion.
Yeah. And
So
take
they
care of
can
them.
live through the underdog in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Hmm.
safe. Then
And
it's
it's safe.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were the underdog? You're the
Um,
underdog?
I think I have enough. So there's another aspect of it. So it's in a circle, the Enneagram.
Hmm.
And the 9's at the top, and next to it is the 1 and the 8. And it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So whatever numbers on either side of yours, those are your wings. And they give you some spice. They season your number a bit. And I think I have enough of an 8 wing that that anger will come up out of me enough sometimes where I just go,
Yeah.
I'm done. You know, when
Uh-huh.
when nines when 9s get angry, it's called the uh the holy wrath, I think is what it's called. And it's because a 9 will shove down their anger and shove it down and shove it down and shove it down and shove it down. And then eventually it pops up. And if it does, it's because they've gotten to a point where they don't care the destruction their anger is going to make. They're done.
It's like rage or a
Yes.
volcano that just
Yes.
blows. Yeah.
Exactly. It just
Yeah.
blows. And they
Yeah.
don't care what the destruction they're going to leave behind them. It's also right action. Sometimes 9s will know that what they're doing is the right thing no matter what. And whatever conflict comes from it, so be it. Because
Is
it's
it
the
out of
right thing.
control at that point? Is
No.
it an
Well,
out
with the
of control
rage,
emotion?
no, I wouldn't. The anger is scary, but I've never heard a 9 like being afraid they're going to beat the crap out of somebody or
Hmm.
something, you know?
Right.
It just is this emotion that comes out and you're willing to say whatever needs to be said. You're not going to hurt them, but all of a sudden your truth just
But
comes
you're
out.
in control.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You haven't lost control. It's not out of control
No.
rage kind of thing.
No. No.
Yeah.
No. So,
Yeah. So when you first heard, well, how long did you go thinking you were a 6 and trying to heal the 6
oh,
wound?
just like about a year. And I wasn't trying to heal the 6 because I was too busy dealing with my fiance and his daughter, and the mother who hated his mother did not like me, and I mean it was a mess.
It was a
It was
big
a mess.
drama. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of drama, and so yeah, I was really trying hard to make it work.
Hmm.
We were trying really hard.
Right.
And then one day I realized this is what it's going to be like the whole entire time. It's never
Yeah.
going to get better.
Now,
So,
what was his number? Did
you
you ever
know,
look back at that?
I do look back at that, and I don't think either an 8 or a 6, but I don't think an 8. He didn't get angry very often. Like 8s often talk, and you're like, "Why are you yelling at me?" They're like, "I'm not yelling." Like, "Yes, you are."
Hmm.
So the only other thing is maybe a 6.
Yeah.
They're the big doubters, but he still had a confidence about him. So I don't know. Very
Hmm.
confident person,
Yeah.
which is always attractive.
Yeah. To somebody's insecure. Yeah.
Yes, yes. He's a wonderful man, and I I hope that he has found somebody because he's got a big heart and he was a good man. So
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, I
Not
just
in
wasn't the
touch
right person.
anymore, huh?
No, no, it was painful. It was painful for a while.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
yeah.
you bring the Enneagram into your work now. You use it quite a bit.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
don't always it's it's
A tool.
bad it's bad to try to type somebody else, or I should say to tell somebody else what number they are.
Hmm.
It's kind of like in bad form, but you can guide somebody, and
Why is
they're
that in bad form? Is it a
because
violation or
it is
something?
kind of a violation. They need to figure it out for themselves. And also, you may be wrong. You
Mm.
know, my neighbor, I really thought she was a 1. I was bound and determined that she was a 1.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, I'm a 9. And I'm like, you're not a 9. I'm a 9. You're not a 9. We kept going back and forth and back and forth. And finally, she did a lot of reading and she said, I think I'm a 4. And I was like, oh my God, you're so a 4. Okay. So you don't know, because that motivation that's inside somebody, it can come out in different ways. So like a 1, a great example. My best friend's a 1.
Hmm.
She her nieces were born. She was going to start babysitting them. She said, I want to go take a first aid class. Will you come with me? And I said, why do you need? She's like, well, what if something happens when I'm there? And I don't know this. I don't know how to do these things for them. And I said, okay. And so I can see a 6 doing that, because
Hmm.
they're afraid that something will happen on their watch, and
Right.
they need to have that information. But a 1 is doing it because it's the right thing to do. If
Yeah.
I'm going to do this, it's the
Hmm.
responsible right thing for me to have these skills. So it
Hmm.
looks the same, but the motivation behind it is different. And that's why you don't really want to, do that.
Yeah.
However, when I'm doing energy healings, every number has kind of an energy to them.
Hmm.
And by some of the things they say and the fears that come up, I will guide them and say, you know what? Go on to the internet, look up the Enneagram. I'll write it down. And I say, look at these numbers and see if any of these fit you,
Hmm.
kind of just guide them if I can. Because their meditation, the Enneagram, and energy healing are the 3 things that have done the most for me in my healing. But I think the Enneagram has been foundational. It was like a roadmap for me
Right. Right.
that I didn't have before.
Hmm.
So
So it was
yeah,
meditation, Enneagram, and
energy healing,
energy
energy
healing.
healing. Yeah.
And you had others do the energy healing on you, or were you
Yes, I studied with a woman in
doing?
Monument named Adrienne Wentworth for a while, and I would do what I call a series when I felt like I needed to just push through something, and I'd schedule like 4 sessions like every other week, and
Hmm.
I would just hit it, and by the end I always felt better. So, I was kind of felt like I'd gotten past whatever that was.
And she would pull the energy out of you. Is that how her work?
Yes. Yes, she
Yeah.
would she would read what was going on in the belief patterns and stuff, and then use mantras and stuff
Hmm.
to pull it out. So I use her method along with the energy healing I learned in massage school, like the polarity and the chakra work and all
Right.
of that stuff. Yeah.
Now, when you're doing energy work, and you said
Mhm.
each Enneagram has a particular energy,
Mhm.
can you then tell, in case they're not figuring out, can you tell them who they are by
I
the energy?
no, I still I can't. They each have a certain energy, but more importantly, no, I I would never tell them. Let's just put it that way. I would never tell them. I would guide them. Like I would say, check out the 9, check out the 2. If they felt very introverted, I would say check out the 9, the 5, or the 4. I guide them. I can't, because again, even though I am feeling the energy, it's not it's not defined. They still need to figure it out for themselves. I
Hmm.
think the figuring out is half of the healing, you
Oh,
know?
okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was wondering, if
Yeah.
they have to own it
Yeah.
rather
Oh yeah,
than
you
you.
have to own it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And then once they do, the first thing is the recognition in their life, or the awareness of,
mhm. Oh, this is what I do.
yeah. And this
Yeah.
is what you do, is say
Yeah.
to them, okay, look at this, look
Yeah.
how you behaved here.
Yeah. And also some people are just they don't they don't get it. They're not into it. It's not their thing, and that's okay too. It's not their tool, you
Hmm.
know? There's a bunch of other personality systems out there that maybe fit them more and help them better. But
Could it
I'm a
be
big
denial that,
oh yes.
yeah, that it
Oh
really
yes.
is their tool, but they're not going there?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't
Yeah.
there's not it's not hitting them right. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
So
And I
can
don't I
you use
go
the
ahead.
Enneagram to pick a partner? Like,
Yes
you
and
looked at your partner, and an 8 and
yeah.
a 9.
Yes and no. I mean, there's definitely some numbers that always are coming up
Hmm.
together, like sixes and nines are a big one.
Right.
But the 6 and 9, they share a line, so they kind of relate to each other. Another one which is bizarre are twos and fives. I mean, the complete opposite of each other's because fives are like
Now, what's
Spock.
5 again? I don't
Yeah, the
have it in
five
front
is
of me.
that's fine. Five is like Spock. They have a hard time with emotions. People interacting with people is weird for them because they have these emotions and they don't understand them. They have to go home and think through to how they feel about it.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, twos are just like, I love everybody.
Hmm.
I have all
That's
these
why I
emotions.
don't think I'm a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah, twos are the one number on the Enneagram that truly enjoy people and think
Oh, I
people are
enjoy people.
interesting
Yeah.
and they want to know all about them and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So
No, I have
it's
that part. I
do
don't
you have
know
that
that I
part?
love everybody. Different.
Yeah. This is a 2. I heard this on I think it was TikTok, it doesn't matter. It was a woman, she said, whenever I realize that somebody doesn't like me, I say to myself, I just haven't earned that yet.
Yeah.
Like a 2 says that like they don't like me. Well, they just obviously don't know how wonderful I am yet.
Yeah.
And I need to do things and work with them
You
until they
have to
become my friend.
convince them.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
obviously need to be my friend.
Hmm.
Anything you'll do to a 2, they grab that and say, yes, let's be friends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be your friend.
Right. Right. I'm not a
Back up.
2.
Yeah. Okay. See, there
I
we
know
go.
I'm not a 2. And I think part of it is I don't want to be a 2. Yeah.
That could be
But
it too.
that kind of thing,
Yeah.
we don't need to be friends. We can be acquaintances. Yeah.
And I'm fine being acquaintances, but yeah, 2s are like, we're best friends now.
Mm. Yeah.
Like they're serious.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we're not best friends.
Hmm.
And sometimes I want you to back away and leave me alone because sometimes 2s can be
Oh
clingy.
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
take you over, kind of try to love
Yes.
you to death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and so to go back to your question, can you find a partner based on your number? Um, yes and no. There are some numbers you'll be drawn to more than others, but really what's more important, as always, is how healthy is that person, how unhealthy. You
Hmm.
know, healthy 2s are awesome. Unhealthy 2s are awful. awful.
Why they just take all of your air kind of thing? Take
And
over?
they can be very judgmental
Oh.
and sometimes it's kind of weird, a little narcissistic. It's bizarre. It's
Hmm.
bizarre. Um, so but all the numbers can be awful when they're unhealthy, you know?
Yeah.
So health is more important than number. Yeah.
And speaking of health, can this underlie physical problems? Your
Yes, and
numbers?
yes and no. I feel like I'm just beating up on twos today. I don't mean to be.
Well, that's okay. I'm the one who
Yeah.
brought them up and said, I tested as and I'm not it, so I
So
hate them.
so certain numbers like twos, they're taking care of everybody else, so they aren't taking care of themselves.
Hmm.
So oftentimes they will have some health issues, you
Right.
know. Sixes can sometimes have high blood pressure and stress because they're worried all the time,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
things like that, but for the most part, not really. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But your book about healing, you do part of that physical as well.
The about
So I'm
physically
bringing
healing.
your healing book into
Okay,
the
that's
Enneagram.
so the book is mostly about the Enneagrams in it, 100%.
Hmm.
But the book is mostly about when I was a massage therapist and I'm still an energy healer. That I was noticing that some of my clients better, um, would get better, and
Hmm.
some of them wouldn't. And I just kind of started observing, like, why is this? Why do some of them get better and some of them don't? And I just realized there was some like world views that one had and that the other didn't. You know, like some people just really didn't believe that their body could heal, and your body wants to heal. That's the number
Yeah.
one. You got to help it heal, but it
Hmm.
is fighting 24/7 to heal, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And then the other one, which is a big one, is only you can heal yourself. So people would come in and say, "Oh, you got your work cut out for you today." And I'm like, "Do I know?"
Yeah. Yeah. Don't put it on me. I'm not a
Yeah. So
two.
no, that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm always saying I'm guiding you. I'm I'm working out these muscles and stuff. But if you go home and do the exact same things,
Hmm.
it's not going to heal. You
Right.
know, you
Right.
have to work with me
Hmm.
in order to be. I'm a guide, but if you aren't doing your side of it, um, you can tell somebody this is what's wrong in your life. This is what you're doing wrong,
Right.
and unless they do something about it, I even say in the book, even a surgeon will go in there and do what they need to do. But if you don't follow what they tell you to do afterwards,
Hmm.
if you don't take your medicine, if you don't, take it easy, do whatever they do. Like when my husband had back surgery, he wasn't allowed to twist. And he
It wasn't
said
allowed to what?
to twist
Oh, to
after he had his
twist.
back
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
And he said, and if you don't think I'm serious, I had one guy who felt he was feeling really good. So he went out and played golf. And now he has a permanent catheter because he can't hold his
Oh
back.
my God. Yeah.
And it was like,
Yeah. Quite the
okay,
price
we
to be.
believe
Yeah.
you.
That'll knock them into line. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, the surgeon does what the surgeon
Right.
can, but you have to do your end. And so, yeah, only
Okay.
you
So
can heal
now I'm
yourself.
going to bring it back to the Enneagram
Okay.
of, um, because he was a number eight.
Oh, yes, yes.
Did he think, oh no, I know? You know?
No, he listened. He
Yeah.
listened, but
Well,
he'd been
after
in.
that example,
Yeah,
anybody would listen.
yeah,
Yeah. But I
yeah.
mean, would he be more prone to thinking, oh no, I've got this. I know.
I don't know about all eights, but for him, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's pretty
But I
good
mean,
about
for all
listening.
eights, I guess I'm
For
asking most eights. Yeah.
all eights, there's a lot. Eights are intense.
Mm.
Eights can be mine isn't as intense, but some eights can be intense, and yeah, they'll just push and push and push
Yeah.
until they're really hurt,
Hmm.
and then yeah, so
That's what I mean. When the
yeah,
surgeon's telling you, be careful, you're a number eight and you're seeing the world that way. It's
yeah,
like, I got this.
yeah, they could very
Yeah.
well, yeah, yeah,
So the Enneagram can underlie the healing process.
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, all of them have their. So we'll come back to the nine.
Okay. Yeah.
Each one of them has a sin, shall we say. And for the 9, it's sloth. Now, that doesn't mean that we're lazy and we're not doing anything. That's not true. We'll do everything for other people,
Hmm.
if we need to, because we don't want conflict, so we better do it, right?
Right. Keep
Not because we
everybody
want to help
happy.
them.
Yeah.
It's yeah. But when it comes to our own self-healing, doing things for ourselves, that's where the sloth comes in.
Hmm.
To think it's good for me to sit and meditate every day. Oh, but I could do this over here. We fall asleep to ourselves. I could
Hmm.
meditate, or I could go watch another episode of Ted Lasso, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, and sometimes we fall asleep to ourselves instead of doing what would be help us move forward in life.
Hmm. And we
And that,
didn't bring that up at the beginning with the enneagrams. You said it's a waking up to yourself.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's really hard for 9s to put themselves out into the world
Yeah.
because that feels like conflict to them.
And
But
not
they're
safe.
and
Not
not safe.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I I really have this feeling inside of me. I know up here it's not true, but I have this feeling inside of me that if I go out and put myself into the world, I'm taking the spotlight from somebody else.
Hmm.
And that's really uncomfortable to me. And
Yeah.
it's been years of going, there's enough for everybody. You can be out in the spotlight and so can other people. There's a big sun,
Hmm.
that shines on
Right.
all of
There's
us.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
right to that light as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
And to add to that, so when the 9 goes into health, when they're healthy, they actually take on qualities of the 3. And remember, the 3 is all about being in the spotlight. They want to go out there and be successful and
Oh, yeah.
achieve. And
Yeah.
in an interview with 3 will be like, let me tell you how awesome I am and how awesome I'm going to make your company. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a 3. So
When we've
9's
all
not great
met
at that.
them, and I
Yes.
know for me, I've always been in awe of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Why
yes,
can't I
in
do that?
awe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. When I was going through all these numbers, did anybody in your life kind of pop into your head thinking, oh, that person might be that number, or that person might be that number?
No, I was purely self-interested.
Okay.
And I had about 5 or 6 of those numbers were me.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so it's a matter of going through and reading more about them and understanding it more
Hmm.
and, seeing how
Yeah,
they
as I
all
said, I
tick.
took the test very
Hmm.
quickly and this morning, and then rejected it.
Yeah.
Rejected that answer.
Which means you might be a 2. You never know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because the
And the one,
rejection was pretty
yes.
complete. Yeah. Yeah.
Things that I forgot to say, I kind of mentioned it, is when you're taking these tests, if you take a test or you're reading these descriptions, think about yourself in your 20s, because
Oh,
that's
okay,
when
yeah.
you were really just, displaying it. Because as we get
The
older,
most
no matter,
moldable.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. And whether you know your Enneagram type or not, as you get older, hopefully, you have experiences and you realize that when something happens, it's not the end of the world. Like when you broke up with
Right.
your first love, you think it's the end of the world. You're never going to have somebody else,
Hmm.
right? And then as you get older, you realize, okay, well, that sucked, but there
Right.
could be another,
I'll be
you
over
know?
this. Let
So
me
yeah,
get somebody else.
exactly. So
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that you realize that it'll be okay. Time will heal it as you
Hmm.
get older. So you don't display your number quite as much,
Right.
hopefully. Yeah.
How has it your um recognition of who you are and what number you are, and then putting it into practice to actually the recognition to actually realize and try to work in the world with that awareness. How has that changed your life?
Um, well, I don't think I would have been a yoga instructor if I didn't know about my 9. Because if you know, well, this is what's holding me back, but I
Hmm.
really want to do this, then you can kind of work your way there. So when you're a yoga instructor, you are in the spotlight, right?
Right.
Everybody's looking at you. Everybody's paying attention to you. But my workaround with that was that may be true, but I'm there for them. I'm not saying, look at me. I'm guiding all of them. I'm holding the space for them. And that's how I worked my way around that.
Mm-hmm.
I say no more than I ever did. Um, and I guess the biggest thing that I've realized that it has helped me learn being a nine, and also with the help of Brené Brown, honestly, is that,
Brene Brown? Yeah.
yeah, Brené Brown, that you can't control other people's reactions.
Mm-hmm.
You can only control yourself, and speak your truth in as much kindness as you can, and know that they will get over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But the
um,
thing is will you get over
yes,
it?
I will.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the thing I've learned. Yeah,
yeah.
that it'll be okay eventually, because do something like that, set that boundary up for yourself. Um, it ends up feeling good. It ends
Mm-hmm.
up feeling good.
Now,
Yeah.
9 is kind of the disappearing 9, the one who
Yes.
disappears. When you go out there and you're suddenly in the spotlight, do you do you panic inside and have to
Sometimes,
calm yourself down?
if I'm not prepared, I thought I was prepared for my sister-in-law's wedding, because I was the maid of honor.
Hmm.
And I got up there to do that speech, and I just blew it. I blew
Yeah.
it so bad. And afterwards, one of her relatives came up and said, I didn't realize how shy you were. It's
Oh,
like, oh,
geez. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't
yeah,
need it confirmed.
no. And I
Yeah.
know that I need to work on my public speaking. Um, every time when I'm at the metaphysical store where I do my energy healing, and
Mhm.
people come in to shop,
And we
I,
can talk about that.
okay,
We're both healers, and for heaven's
yes,
sake, in
it's,
Denver and Applewood. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
wonderful stores. Go see
Hmm.
them.
Gives us a
I
great
have to,
opportunity. Yeah.
yes, and I have to take a breath and just feel like I'm jumping off a cliff to go over and talk to them and say, hey, my name's Heather. This is how I
Mhm.
started it. I'm getting better. Hey, my name's Heather. I'm the energy healer. This is my card. I just wanted you to know that I exist.
Yeah.
And I'm here if you need help. And then I would
Yeah.
run away. And
Hmm.
I've gotten better at that. I've gotten better
Right.
at that.
So practice helps.
Practice helps.
Yeah.
Nine advocating for themselves is hard.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
does it ever get easier? Does it ever become natural?
I don't know about natural, but I think it becomes easier,
Hmm.
you know, and, but it doesn't, I don't think it's ever going to be natural.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to have the courage that my husband doesn't even need courage to call
Yeah.
somebody up and say, you're wrong. You need to give me this refund, and just pound it in until
Yeah.
they get their
Yeah.
way. I'm like, okay, can I talk to your manager? And the manager says no. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you.
You
I'm
give
not,
up pretty quick. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
to a certain length and then be like, nope, they're not going to do it.
So you learn how to work with the wound, but does a
Mhm.
wound ever get healed?
I don't think it ever truly gets healed. I think it's always there.
Yeah.
It just, if you want to think about it, it's kind of like grief. It's always there.
Mhm.
The volume turns down a bit over time.
Right. It becomes a little dormant until something kicks it off.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Like, whenever you get into stress, it's going to bring that up like a bear,
You're going to
whatever that
revert
wound
to
is,
it.
it's
Yeah.
going to come up. And that stress isn't always bad. I mean, we all have just life stress. People die in our lives,
Hmm.
you know, people lose jobs, things happen that
Right.
cause stress,
Hmm.
and that's when it really comes up. And that's when you're like, okay, this is happening, you know?
So you revert back to your comfort zone,
Oh,
basically, to what you
absolutely.
know. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But at
And it's,
least you know you're doing it.
at least you're
So
doing it.
yeah.
Yeah, when a nine is, their coping skills are low, they want to numb out,
Hmm.
and you just want to sit on the couch and watch TV or watch a movie, just read a book, just completely check out.
Yeah.
And I've learned that sometimes I need that. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's okay to sit down for an hour and watch an episode of something, but then I got to get back up and go back into the world.
It's like
You
a
know?
vacation from
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes I need that. I need that to re-energize
Right.
because being out in the world is it's draining for a
Hmm.
9. So,
And is
um,
9 the one that really is not in touch with their emotions, or is that another one?
there's a few of them that do that. The two isn't in touch with their emotions because they're too busy focusing on everybody else's emotions.
Right. Which is why
And
they do it, some of it.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, and then the 3 isn't in touch with their emotions because they've turned it off because it's a distraction. So they think when something happens, they think, I'll deal with that later. I need to
Yeah.
fix this now, and then they never deal with it. Right.
They always keep having emergencies or crises come up, so
Right.
they
There's always
can't deal.
something because
Yeah.
when the project has been completed and the balloons are falling and everybody's eating cake, the 3's back in their office doing the next thing. They
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
just to celebrate. Yeah.
Or
So
take the chance to have
yeah,
that moment. Yeah.
yeah. Really the only one that's really in tune with their emotions is the 4. Um, and
And
they're
what's
like
the 4 again?
the 4 is the I don't think I said it, their name. They're the artist.
Oh, okay.
And they're
Yeah.
so in tune with their emotions that their emotions take them over.
Okay. So
And
they
their
become
identity,
all emotion.
yeah, and their
Mhm.
identity becomes their emotions. And so they need to learn to let that emotion go so they can move on, but they'll hold on to it.
Now, what would be their wound that would bring them pure
Their
emotion? Because everybody else runs away.
right, their wound is of okay. I did bring my notes because the
Mhm.
4 honestly is the most complicated of all of them,
Is
really.
it? Yeah.
So the 4 is of having no identity or no personal significance.
Mm.
That's their wound. And so they
So
find their
they are
identity in
their art.
their art, their emotions. And that's why sometimes they can be bizarre,
Hmm.
like I never forget that guy's name that was like hard rock and he had the 2 different colored eyes.
Kiss.
No, no, that was a good one. The people that like, I still think Prince was a 4. Sometimes I
Mhm.
wonder if Michael Jackson was a 4. They've
Yeah.
just
They just have
sometimes
to
I
be cutting edge, what they'll
yeah,
call
and they
cutting
have to be
edge. Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so that and so they want to find significance. They want to create an identity. That's their desire. And Suzanne Stabile says, and I love this. She says that 4s really want to be seen and heard.
Hmm.
That's their big thing. And the big identifier of a 4 is they really see that everybody else is happy
Hmm.
somehow. Like I shouldn't say happy. Everyone else is complete. They've
Yeah.
got that magical thing that somehow 4s don't think they have.
Hmm.
And they're always trying to
That they're
find that missing
broken.
piece. Yes, that they're broken somehow,
Yeah.
some way.
Are they the number that thinks they're broken? Or are
Yes.
there a few numbers like that?
No, the four definitely thinks they're broken. I don't think any of the other numbers do.
Hmm.
And like I said, 4s are just really into melancholy.
Hmm.
That's real. They don't want to talk about the weather with you.
Yeah.
They want to hear about the horrible things that happened in your life and the things that your passions and what makes you, they want to have that conversation. And
Yeah.
then they're happy to leave and never see you again. But they want to
Hmm.
have like a real moment, an authentic
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
So this is my favorite story about 4s. So 4s, like I said, like the melancholy, um they uh they, they like real authentic things. So if anybody's seen the movie Manchester by the Sea,
I did see it, but I don't kind of,
it's
I
a
do and I don't remember it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's about a man who lost his 2 children tragically.
Mhm.
And basically the story is he tries to get back into life again and he can't. He's a broken person. He's
Mhm.
broken. And you realize how broken he is by the end.
Yeah.
And there's no coming back. And so I said to my friend, next door neighbor, when we realized she was a 4, I said, go watch Manchester by the Sea
Mhm.
and tell me what you think of it. And she came back, she said, I loved that movie. I'm like, did you? She's like, yeah, I saw it as a love story. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where did you see a love story
Yeah.
in that tragically sad movie?
Hmm.
And my other friend who was a four, she called me, and we love movies together. And she called me. She said, "Oh, you have to see, oh shoot, Requiem for a Dream.
Mm.
Is it? Have you seen Requiem for a
I
Dream?
don't remember that one, no.
You don't have to.
At
It's
all.
about
Yeah.
okay. It's about four people spiraling in their addiction to rock bottom, and that's the end of the movie.
Oh, I
Them hitting
definitely
rock
don't want to
bottom.
see that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not seeing
So she
that.
tells me, and she says, "You have to watch this movie. I've been watching it every night."
Oh.
And so, so I watch it, and by the end, I'm like, and I call her. I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" That's
Well,
how
that's
I mean,
not a 9. You weren't coming from 9 there.
no, but she was a good friend, and so I was
Yeah.
like, that movie was tragic. I don't
Mm.
think I could watch it again, you
Yeah.
know? And she was like, "Oh, I loved that movie." Like, yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, that's a four. That's a four.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think I know a couple of 4s.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
the ones I know, there's always a drama, but it's like
Yes.
a low key, not an explosion, but a constant.
Yeah.
But it's a drama, it's a panic. It's a
Yes.
something that has to be taken care of here.
Yeah. There's drama, and some people like they've been told a lot that they're a lot. They're a lot to deal with.
Right, right.
Uh-huh. That
Yeah.
because they're so drama all over the place. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
That's their
and
burden.
if things calm down, they'll have a drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
God forbid life becomes normal or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because also drama gives them identity, doesn't it?
Hmm. And keeps
Yeah.
them in the spotlight where people are paying attention to them.
Yeah.
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 So,
Well,
so you work with people with the Enneagram as well as bringing your other tools into it.
yes. And
Yeah.
I do Enneagram coaching, just like talking one-on-one. It's not like therapy. It's just me, you know, one, helping them find their number.
Hmm.
And two, then working with them with their number, like, okay, well, this is happening in your life. Let's look at it through the lens of an Enneagram. Your
Yeah.
number, what's scary about this? What would be the good choices to make, kind of
Hmm.
things, you know?
Do you ever need to go back and find their wound to work with them or no?
Um, I don't ever need to go back when anybody comes in for an energy session. They're like holding their wound. They're like, "This is what's bothering me. Help me fix it." And I'm like, "Okay."
Right.
So it's most of the time they're coming in with their wound. Whether there's just like you said, people can't see their wounds, but I can
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
their problem and go, "Oh, well, this is obviously the common denominator, right? Like
Yeah.
this is what's going on." Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't have to search real hard.
So, where would people get hold of you to work with you? And
Yes.
you'll do Zoom and
Yes.
everything else?
I'll
Yeah.
do Zoom. Yes.
Yeah.
So right now my website is down because they upped the price. I won't say what company I was going through. They upped the price, and I decided I'm not going to do that. So I need to
Yeah.
rebuild my website. But
Hmm.
people can email me at contact@heathercox.com. That's KOKX
Right.
.com. And they could also contact me at, for heaven's sake, in
Mhm.
Applewood
Yeah.
as
I'm
well.
thinking
Yeah.
Littleton. I didn't know about that story.
No, I would love it if they opened one in Littleton. That'd
Yeah.
be awesome.
Yeah.
But no, they yeah, which is for heaven's sakes, is it for heaven's sakes.com? I think it's something else.
It is. And it's one S in there. So it's FORHEAVENSAKE.
Oh, so there's only one on the
.com.
website.
There's only
Okay.
one S in there. .com will bring you right into both stores and the practitioners and,
Yes. And there's
everything that's going on with them.
wonderful practitioners, including Bob.
Thank you. And we do have fabulous
We do.
practitioners and a wide array, and everybody's professional. So
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
great. Yeah, it
It
is
is
good.
a really great group of people. It really
Yeah,
is. I love
I know.
working there.
I know.
So
We can also get hold of you on Facebook, can't we?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
On Facebook, I have a little bit different name though. It's Heather the Yoga Nerd, because that's
Oh,
where I do my yoga
okay.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Heather the Yoga Nerd. You can definitely find me on there.
Hmm.
So
And you're
yeah,
still teaching yoga or no?
I still teach yoga. I everywhere that I worked before the pandemic closed, which was sad
Hmm.
because they were all independent places.
Right.
And so I started teaching online because it became very apparent that I couldn't not teach, you
Oh,
know.
you need it for
So
that for
yeah,
you.
I needed it.
Yeah.
So I started teaching online, and I do still teach online. So
Mhm. So
yeah.
anybody can join
Hmm.
there as well, and that's
Yep.
through Facebook. That would be through
Yes, you can email me or message me, and I will send you all the information.
That's fabulous. Heather,
Yeah.
thanks so much for being on the show and
Thank you,
teaching
Barb.
us about Enneagrams and
Thank you. Like I said, I'll talk about it all day long. So thank you for giving me this
good.
opportunity.
I really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.